Someone standing behind you. The first time I felt it, I was alone. Not the kind of alone where the house is empty, but the world still feels nearby. This was the kind of alone where the walls seemed farther apart than usual, where silence didn't feel passive, but attentive. It was just after midnight. I was standing in my bathroom, brushing my teeth, staring at my reflection without really seeing it. The light above the mirror flickered once, nothing dramatic, just the briefest dimming. And that was when my shoulders tightened for no reason. The feeling was simple and immediate. Someone was standing behind me. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't see movement in the mirror. I didn't smell anything unfamiliar. My body reacted before my mind had time to argue. My spine stiffened. My breath caught halfway in. The muscles at the back of my neck prickled like they'd been brushed by cold air. I stared at my own eyes in the mirror. They were fixed, wide, alert. Slowly, without turning my head, I shifted my gaze upward, scanning the reflection behind me. Empty bathroom, shower curtain still, door closed, towel hanging exactly where I'd left it. The feeling didn't go away. It stayed pressed between my shoulder blades, heavy and specific, like someone standing just close enough that if I leaned back, I would touch them. I spat toothpaste into the sink, rinsed my mouth, and forced myself to breathe normally. "You're tired," I said out loud. The sound of my voice helped. It anchored me. I rinsed my toothbrush, wiped the counter, and turned off the light. The moment the room went dark, the pressure intensified, sharp and unmistakable. I turned around. Nothing. I slept poorly that night. Every time I drifted off, I woke with the same sensation. Someone close, too close, standing where they shouldn't be. By morning, I had convinced myself it was stress. I'd been working long hours, skipping meals, staring at screens too much. The second time it happened, I was at work. I worked late shifts in an office that emptied out after 6. By 10, the building belonged to the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant echo of elevators traveling floors with no passengers. I was alone in the copy room, waiting for a machine to finish printing. The door was open. The hallway beyond was empty. Halfway through collating the pages, the feeling returned. Someone behind me, not approaching, already there. Close enough that my shoulders hunched automatically, like I was making room. I didn't look right away. I pretended to adjust the stack of paper, my eyes flicking sideways toward the reflection in the copier's dark glass. Nothing. I turned my head slowly. The hallway was still empty. The copy room door hadn't moved, and yet my body refused to relax. I finished the job quickly and left the office early, heart pounding like I'd almost been caught doing something wrong. That night, I searched for explanations. Anxiety symptoms, hypervigilance, sleep deprivation, all of it fit just well enough to be convincing. I read forum posts from people describing the same sensation. Someone behind them, watching, just out of sight. Most responses said the same thing. It's stress. It's your nervous system misfiring. It's harmless. That should have reassured me. It didn't. Because the third time, I wasn't alone. I was sitting on my couch with my friend Mark, half watching a movie, half dozing. The lights were low. The apartment felt normal again. Safe. I shifted to get more comfortable and froze. The pressure was back. Someone standing behind me. I felt it so strongly I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. My heart started racing, and for a moment I considered standing up just to break the illusion. Then Mark spoke. "Hey," he said slowly. I turned my head toward him. He wasn't looking at the TV anymore. He was staring past me, his expression tense. "What?" I asked. He hesitated, Are you messing with me? With what? He swallowed. Did you hear something just now? My pulse thudded. No. He shifted on the couch. It sounded like someone breathing. The room felt suddenly smaller. Behind you? He asked quietly. I didn't answer, because the pressure between my shoulders intensified, like whatever was there had leaned closer. Mark stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over the coffee table. Okay, he said, forcing a laugh. That's enough movie night. What do you see? I asked. Nothing, he said too quickly. That's the problem. He left a few minutes later, making excuses about an early morning. I locked the door behind him and stood there longer than necessary, listening to the quiet. That night, I didn't turn off the lights. The next morning, I noticed something new. Every reflective surface in my apartment felt wrong. Mirrors, windows, even the dark screen of my phone when it was off. I kept catching myself checking them, not for my reflection, but for the space just behind it. I stopped standing with my back to doors. I started sitting against walls, and slowly, I realized the feeling wasn't random. It always happened when my back was exposed, when there was space behind me, when I wasn't watching. I tested it. That evening, I stood in the middle of my living room, back to the open hallway, and waited. 10 seconds. Nothing. 30 seconds. The air shifted. A minute passed, and the sensation bloomed again. Slow, deliberate, unmistakable. Someone standing just behind me. I spun around. Empty hallway. But this time, the feeling didn't vanish when I faced it. It stayed. Now in front of me. Like whatever it was didn't need to stay behind anymore. I stumbled backward, heart hammering, until my back hit the wall. Only then did the pressure fade, like something stepping away reluctantly. After that, the apartment stopped feeling like an apartment. It felt like a set someone had built to test how quickly I would crack. I changed the way I moved through rooms. I started turning corners wide so I could see behind furniture. I stopped bending over the sink because it put my neck at an angle I hated thinking about. I started leaving chairs pulled out, not because I needed them, but because I needed obstacles, proof that the space behind me wasn't empty and available. I tried to be rational. I made a list, the way I did when my life got messy. Possible causes, possible fixes. Stress, sleep deprivation, too much caffeine, old building noises, a neighbor, a prank. I cut coffee for 2 days and got a splitting headache that made me irritable, but did nothing for the presence. I slept with white noise, then without, then with music, then with nothing at all. I set my phone to airplane mode so it couldn't buzz and startle me. The pressure between my shoulder blades arrived anyway, punctual as a habit. On the third night after Mark left, I decided to prove it to myself. Not to prove the presence existed. That part of me already believed it. But to prove it didn't. To catch my own brain lying. I set up my laptop on the kitchen counter and opened the webcam. I angled it so it could see most of the living room and the hallway behind me. Then I sat in a chair with my back toward the hall and stared at the laptop screen like I was waiting for someone in an online meeting. At first, nothing happened. The webcam showed a slightly grainy image of my apartment, my shoulders in the foreground, the hallway behind me stretching into darkness. I could see the bathroom door, the bedroom door, the small closet. I waited until my eyes started to burn. 10 minutes, 20. The air felt normal. I almost laughed at how stupid I'd been. Then the pressure returned. Not sudden, not like a hand, like a person stepping into my personal space. I froze, eyes locked on the laptop screen. I didn't move my head. I didn't move my shoulders. I tried to breathe shallowly so my body wouldn't give it away. In the webcam image, the hallway looked the same, but the shadows at the far end of it didn't. They seemed thicker, as if the darkness had gained weight, as if it was pressing forward. And then, very slowly, a shape slid into view behind me. It wasn't a full figure at first. It was the suggestion of one, an outline where there should have been empty air, or a distortion like heat over asphalt, only colder. The pixels around it fuzzed and crawled as if the camera hated it. I waited for my brain to reinterpret it into something normal, a compression artifact, a bug, a glitch. The shape leaned closer. My shoulders tensed involuntarily. In the webcam, the outline sharpened for a split second. A head, a torso. No face I could make out. Just the sense of something tall and upright, hovering directly behind my chair. Close enough that if it were solid, it would have been touching my hair. I couldn't take it. I spun around so fast, the chair scraped the floor. Nothing. Empty hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs. I turned back to the laptop. The webcam feed showed my chair twisting, my face briefly in motion blur. And behind it, behind where my head had been, there was a darker smear. Like someone had stood there and stepped away faster than the camera could follow. I slammed the laptop shut. That was the moment I knew it wasn't only in my head. My brain can lie, but it can't make hardware react. It can't make pixels crawl like that, like the device itself was refusing to cooperate. The next day, I went to a doctor because I needed someone to tell me I was losing it in a medically explainable way. I explained the feeling carefully, leaving out the webcam, leaving out the breathing, leaving out the bruises. The doctor asked if I'd been under stress. I said yes. He asked if I'd been sleeping. I said not much. He asked if I'd had panic attacks before. I said no. He suggested anxiety. He suggested sleep hygiene. He suggested cutting screens before bed. He suggested that when I felt the sensation, I should ground myself. Name 5 things I could see, 4 things I could touch, 3 things I could hear. I nodded like a good patient. I left with a pamphlet and the kind of shame you feel when you realize no one can help you because what's happening isn't meant for daylight. That night, I tried his grounding trick. I stood at my kitchen sink, looking at my hands, and when the pressure bloomed again behind me, I forced myself to speak. 5 things I can see, I whispered. The sink, the sponge, the dish soap, the clock, the window. The window was dark. My reflection hovered faintly on the glass. 4 things I can touch, I said. The counter, the faucet, the towel, My voice stopped because the towel on the rack behind me moved. Not a sway like a draft. A tug, downward, as if someone's fingers had pinched the fabric and pulled. I turned. The towel hung still again. The pressure behind my shoulders didn't move. It waited, patient, like it enjoyed being acknowledged, but didn't want to ruin the game. I started sleeping with my back against the wall. I shoved my bed until it squeaked and left dents in the paint. I wedged a chair under the bedroom door handle, even though my rational mind knew locks already existed. I kept the bathroom light on all night because darkness in the mirror felt like an open mouth. It almost worked. For a week, the feeling stayed weaker, like whatever it was didn't like the new rules. Then it adapted. It began showing up in places where walls didn't matter. In the elevator at work, I felt it the moment the doors slid shut. That sudden press of someone standing too close behind me. I spun, ready to see a coworker I hadn't noticed. The elevator was empty. My reflection stared back from the brushed metal wall, and for a moment, right behind my shoulder, a second shadow appeared, taller than mine. tilted slightly as if its head was cocked. The doors opened at my floor. I walked out without looking back, throat tight, sweating despite the air conditioning. After that, I stopped taking elevators. I took the stairs, even when I was exhausted. Even when my lungs burned. Because at least on the stairs, I could keep my back to a wall and my eyes on the landing ahead. I started reading again, not about anxiety this time, but about the sensation itself. Feeling of presence, I typed into search bars at 2 a.m. Someone behind me. Entity behind shoulder. Shadow behind you. Most results were nonsense. Sleep paralysis stories, ghost hunting blogs, people selling crystals. But buried in the noise, I found the same phrase repeated by different people in different places, like a warning passed around quietly. Don't check the mirror. The first time I read it, I rolled my eyes. The second time, my stomach tightened. The third time, I realized I had been doing exactly that, checking every reflective surface like it might betray something. One post, written by someone who sounded too calm to be lying, said, "If you feel it behind you, don't look. If you look, it learns what you can see. If you keep looking, you teach it how to stand where you can't." That night, I made a rule. No mirrors after dark. I covered the bathroom mirror with a towel. I flipped the hallway mirror to face the wall. I turned my phone screen down on every surface. For a few hours, I felt lighter, like I'd closed a door. Then, around 3:18, I woke to the sound of cloth sliding. Soft fabric against glass. I lay frozen, back against the wall, eyes open in the dark. The towel over the bathroom mirror was moving as if someone was smoothing it with careful hands. I couldn't see it from my bed, but I could hear it. Slow, deliberate. Then, a faint tapping, like a fingernail on glass. Tap, tap, tap. The pressure between my shoulders returned, even though I wasn't standing. It pressed into my spine like a weight. A voice, so quiet I wondered if it was inside my skull, whispered, "Look." I didn't. The tapping continued. Patient. In the morning, the towel was on the floor, folded neatly, like someone had taken it down and placed it there on purpose. That was when I understood something I didn't want to know. It wasn't trying to scare me anymore. It was trying to position itself. After the towel incident, I stopped pretending I could control the rules. Whatever was behind me didn't need darkness anymore. It didn't need mirrors. It didn't even need me to be standing. It just needed me to forget about it. That was the worst part. The presence learned patience. Days would pass without anything happening. I'd start to relax, just a little. I'd sit at my desk with my back to the room instead of the wall. I'd forget to keep the bathroom light on. I'd walk past a reflective surface without checking it. That's when the pressure would return. Not suddenly, not aggressively, just enough to remind me it was still there, still close, still learning. I started noticing gaps in my memory, small ones at first. I'd sit down to work and realize hours had passed without me remembering what I'd done. My browser history showed pages I didn't recall opening. Forums, archived posts, grainy videos filmed in dark rooms. Search terms repeated again and again. Why does it feel like someone is behind me, shadow behind shoulder at night presence that copies you? I didn't remember typing most of them. One night, I woke standing in my hallway. Not sleepwalking in the way movies show it. Arms out, eyes glazed. I was upright, alert, breathing normally. The clock on my phone read 3:18 a.m. I stood facing the bathroom door. The towel I'd put back over the mirror earlier that evening was gone again. The mirror was uncovered. And in it, I saw myself standing there in the dark, But my reflection wasn't alone. Something stood directly behind it. Not behind me, behind my reflection. The shape was clearer now than it had ever been before. Tall, narrow, its outline pressed too close, like it was sharing the same space, the same shadow. Its head was tilted slightly, as if studying how my face was put together. I felt the pressure between my shoulders intensify, heavier than ever. And for the first time, it didn't stop when I stepped forward. It stepped with me. I raised my hand slowly. In the mirror, my reflection raised its hand too. The thing behind it did not. It leaned closer. And then, very carefully, it placed its hands where my shoulders should have been. I felt nothing, but my reflection flinched. I backed away from the mirror, heart pounding, until my back hit the wall. The presence did not retreat. It adjusted. The pressure shifted, spreading across my upper back, down my spine, like it was testing how much of me it could occupy without resistance. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to my chest. "I know you're there," I whispered. The pressure paused. Then a thought, not a voice, not sound, slid into my mind with unsettling clarity. Of course I am. Tears burned my eyes. "What do you want?" A pause, a sense of consideration. "Space," the thought answered. The word echoed. "I don't have any," I whispered. "This is all I have." The pressure eased slightly, like amusement. "You do," it replied. "You just keep turning around." That was when I understood the mistake I'd been making from the start. It wasn't attached to my apartment. It wasn't bound to mirrors. It wasn't even bound to me. It was bound to orientation. As long as I had a back, an unobserved side, it had somewhere to stand. I didn't sleep after that. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the floor with my back against the wall, staring straight ahead until dawn turned the windows gray. In the morning, I quit my job. I told my boss I was moving. I told coworkers goodbye. I didn't explain because there were no words that wouldn't sound like a joke or a diagnosis. I packed a bag and drove to my sister's house 2 towns over. Her place was small, cozy, full of light and noise and movement. Kids running, TV always on, doors opening and closing. For the first 2 days, the presence stayed quiet. I thought I'd escaped. On the 3rd night, my sister asked why I always sat with my back to the wall. I laughed too loudly and said it was a habit. That night, I woke to the pressure again. Not behind me, beside me. I opened my eyes slowly. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of the nightlight in the hallway. I could feel it there, inches from my side, matching my breathing. I didn't turn. I didn't speak. I stayed perfectly still. The pressure shifted, testing. A finger, something shaped like one, pressed lightly into my mattress. Then another, as if it was learning how beds worked. I squeezed my eyes shut. "You're getting better at this," the thought came, almost approving. "What happens if I stop turning?" I whispered. The pressure increased, warm now, intimate. "Then I won't need to stand behind you anymore." That was the night I left. I drove until sunrise, stopping only for gas. I checked into a cheap motel off the highway, the kind with thin walls and flickering signs. I chose a room with the bed pressed into a corner, 2 walls touching my back and side. For a while, that worked. The presence faded to a dull awareness, like background noise. Days passed, then weeks. I started to believe I could manage it. That belief was another mistake, because the presence didn't disappear. It adapted. One evening, as I brushed my teeth in the motel bathroom, I realized something horrifying. I no longer felt the pressure behind me. I felt it in front of me, not watching, waiting. I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth, staring at my own eyes in the mirror. My reflection smiled. I did not. Behind the smile, something shifted, stretching the expression wider than it should go. I understood then. It didn't need my back anymore. It had learned how to stand where I could see it, where I would hesitate, where I would doubt my own senses. The reflection leaned closer to the glass, and I felt the pressure settle into my chest, heavy and certain, like a weight finding its proper place. I dropped the toothbrush and backed away. The reflection didn't follow. It just watched. I left the motel that night without checking out. Now, I don't stay anywhere long. I don't use mirrors unless I have to. I don't stand still in open spaces. I keep lights on. I keep noise around me. I keep moving. Because when I stop, when I let my guard down, I feel it again. Not behind me, not beside me. Inside the space where my shadow should be. Sometimes, when I'm exhausted and my reflection looks just a little too calm, I wonder if it's already learned enough. If one day I'll turn around and find nothing there. Because it won't need to stand behind me anymore. If you ever feel that sudden pressure between your shoulders, don't brush it off. Don't assume it's stress. Don't check the mirror, and whatever you do, don't turn around too fast. If you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe to American Haunted Tales for long-form ghost stories and psychological horror. You have been listening to American Haunted Tales.
Thank you for watching.